Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Tonight, we're going to step back in time, very, very far back, to a cold night in April 1912. Imagine yourself standing in the scorching hot kitchen of history's most famous and tragic ship. Yes, tonight we're going to slip into the shoes of one of the unsung heroes of the Titanic, a chef working that very, very fateful night. Trust me, being a real chef on that ship was nothing like the movies. Much more complicated and much more exhausting. So, before you get comfortable, dim the lights, turn on a fan, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And feel free to let me know where and when you're watching from in the comments below. Now then, let's gently ease into tonight's journey together. The heat, that's the first, most powerful thing that hits you. Not the gentle warmth of a nice summer day, but a fierce, suffocating heat radiating from every direction. From the colossal cast-iron stoves glowing red-hot, from the clouds of steam rising from bubbling stockpots, from the sheer press of dozens of bodies working non-stop in a confined space. It's a heat that soaks into your skin, making you sweat like you've just stepped out of a shower within minutes. It makes your chest feel tight every time you breathe. This isn't a cozy home kitchen. This is a massive furnace designed to feed thousands of hungry stomachs. You can feel the deck vibrating slightly under your feet, a constant rhythm from the enormous engines somewhere deep below. Around you is a symphony of sound. The steady thump-thump of knives on wooden cutting boards, the loud sizzle of pans frying fatty cuts of meat, the incessant clatter of plates and cutlery, the shouted calls back and forth between colleagues speaking in a blend of English dialects from across the regions. The smells, too, layer upon layer, creating a unique and unforgettable mixture. The sweet scent of caramelized onions, the savory aroma of roasting meat, the richness of melting butter, and just a hint of old grease mingling with the hot, humid air. It's the smell of hard labor, the smell of pressure, and also the smell of life, churning away. Your hands move quickly, automatically. Perhaps you're slicing hundreds of carrots into perfectly uniform cubes, or painstakingly deboning dozens of fresh fish that just came aboard. Your eyes sting from onion fumes, your back aches from constant bending, but you can't stop. Time is precious here. Every minute of delay can affect hundreds of meals. The pressure is invisible but heavy, weighing on everyone's shoulders. Tonight is a big dinner, a special menu, and everything must be perfect. The expectations placed upon people like you are incredibly high, yet mixed with the exhaustion and the stress is a strange sense of pride. You are part of the world's greatest ship. You are contributing to the creation of meals that the wealthiest people alive are currently enjoying in glittering, elegant dining rooms. This work is grueling, it's messy, but it provides steady pay and a small place within a colossal machine that the entire world is watching with awe. The feeling of being part of something much, much bigger than yourself, even if you are just a simple chef among hundreds, is enough to fuel your aching hands. In this frantic heat, amidst the chaotic noise, you find your own rhythm, a focused intensity on each cut, each pinch of seasoning, and as you quickly wipe a bead of sweat from your brow with the back of your flour-dusted hand, you might wonder, what will tonight bring? You can feel the unusual buzz in the air, a sense of sparkling anticipation radiating from the passengers you've never even seen. The final dinner, a phrase whose true meaning you are utterly unaware of. Stepping out of the immediate blast furnace heat of the galley is like finding a tiny pocket of cool air in the middle of July. You might take a shallow, grateful breath as you move through a swinging door, the clang and clatter of pots and pans slightly muffled behind you now. Here in a narrow corridor, or perhaps a pantry stacked high with gleaming silver platters, the air carries different scents, maybe a hint of lemon polish, or the faint, clean smell of brine drifting in from somewhere far away. It's a momentary reprieve, a chance to feel the slightly cooler deck beneath your worn soles before plunging back into the fray. This small step outward is also a step into understanding the true scale of the beast you inhabit, because this isn't just a kitchen. It's a single, furiously beating heart within a floating city of staggering proportions. You've likely heard the numbers, but feeling them is different. This vessel stretches out, deck upon deck, corridor after corridor, long enough, they say, to cover nearly 3 football pitches end to end. Imagine walking that distance just to get from bow to stern. It's a world unto itself, complete with its own social strata, its own rules, its own hidden pathways and bustling boulevards. Your small, intense galley is merely one tiny, vital organ in this leviathan of steel and steam slicing through the icy black water, and within this world live thousands. Over 2,000 souls call Titanic home for this voyage, a temporary, floating population larger than many small towns back on land. There are the wealthy in their glittering ball gowns and starched collars, residing in suites more luxurious than most homes you've ever seen. There are families packed into more modest, yet still surprisingly comfortable, cabins further down. And then there is the crew, a small army of over 800 people, each with a specific task. Officers navigating by the stars, engineers coaxing unimaginable power from the engines deep below, stewards ensuring comfort, cleaners maintaining spotless perfection, and of course, the vast network of kitchen staff, like you, fueling the entire operation. You are just one face, one pair of hands, in this immense, self-contained universe gliding through the Atlantic night. The sheer effort required to feed this floating city is mind-boggling. Imagine the mountains of potatoes peeled, the rivers of gravy reduced, the forests of vegetables chopped. Think of the thousands of eggs cracked each morning, the hundreds of joints of meat roasted, the countless loaves of bread baked. This isn't home cooking. It's industrial-scale gastronomy executed with military precision. Your galley is just one part of a complex choreography involving bakers, butchers, fishmongers, confectioners, and scullions, all working in a hidden world of heat and steam and frantic energy, ensuring that the passengers above can dine in seemingly effortless splendor. The contrast between their serene experience and the controlled chaos happening beneath decks is vast, almost absurd. As you stand there for that brief second, feeling the slight vibration of the ship's engines through the deck, you are acutely aware of being a single, necessary component in this monumental machine. Your hands might be raw, your feet aching, your mind focused only on the next task, but you are contributing to something massive, something that feels, in its sheer scale and ambition, utterly unstoppable. It's a strange feeling to be both completely essential to a process and simultaneously utterly insignificant in the face of its enormous size. As you stand there, just one face among thousands in this colossal vessel, you might wonder about all the other lives unfolding around you. All the different paths crossing on these decks tonight. Have you ever been in a place so big it felt like its own world? The memory of the heat begins to recede slightly as your focus narrows onto the task immediately in front of you. Perhaps it's the oysters, thousands of them, piled high in crates, glistening and cold, smelling sharply of the sea. Your hands, perhaps calloused but still sensitive, get used to the icy shock as you reach for the next jagged shell. There's a specific way to hold it, a specific spot to insert the tip of your oyster knife, a short, stout blade, nothing fancy. You find the hinge, apply firm, steady pressure, twisting just so, and with a pop the shell yields. Then, the delicate work of severing the muscle without damaging the precious, briny occupant inside. It's repetitive work, meditative in its own way, but demanding. Your wrist aches, and despite your care, sometimes the knife slips, leaving a stinging nick on your thumb or forefinger. You learn to ignore it, just one more small discomfort in a day full of them. Each shucked oyster is carefully placed on a bed of ice, nestled just right, ready to be served gleaming and fresh to a table of people who will consume in moments what took you hours of painstaking, cold, hard labor to prepare. It's a strange contrast, the brute force required to open the shell versus the delicate, almost luxurious thing presented to the guest. These aren't just appetizers, they are edible jewels, symbols of freshness, quality, and the effortless abundance expected in first class. They set the stage, a cool, briny palate cleanser before the parade of richer dishes begins. And you, with your sore hands and nicks, are the one making that happen, one shell at a time, but the kitchen's demands are varied. While some are locked in the repetitive rhythm of preparation like the oysters, others require a different kind of skill, technical precision on a massive scale. Take the consommé Olga on the menu tonight. Making a clear, intensely flavored consommé is an art even in a small kitchen. Doing it for hundreds requires vats of simmering bones and meat, hours of patient skimming to remove every impurity, and then the crucial clarification process. Imagine clarifying liters upon liters of liquid using a raft of egg whites and lean meat, which slowly coaxes even the tiniest particles to the surface, leaving a broth so clear you could read a newspaper through it. It's a delicate chemical dance, easily ruined by too much heat or a moment's inattention. It smells rich, savory, the deep essence of beef and vegetables, a comforting counterpoint to the sharp tang of the sea from the oysters. The pressure builds as the time for service approaches. There's no room for error, no time for do-overs on this scale. Each batch of consommé must be crystal clear, each oyster perfectly presented. You might steal a quick glance at the kitchen clock, feeling the knot in your stomach tighten just a little. The noise level seems to rise, the movements of your colleagues becoming slightly more frantic. You're acutely aware that every dish leaving this hot, chaotic space will be scrutinized by diners paying an unimaginable sum for this experience. The satisfaction when a row of oyster platters looks just right, or when the ladle dips into a pot of consommé and brings up only pure, shimmering liquid, is brief but intensely felt. The appetizers are just the beginning, of course. Soon the pace will quicken even more as the main courses are called away from the pass. And meanwhile, in other parts of this great ship, preparations for the evening's entertainment are also well underway, a different kind of performance entirely. 250. That number hangs in the air for a second, another small detail in the overwhelming scale of this place. Perhaps it's the number of individual portions of roast lamb being called for at this exact moment, each requiring careful slicing and plating. 250 plates, each needing its share of tender meat, its dollop of mint sauce, its portion of roasted potatoes glistening with fat. Imagine the sheer, repetitive motion, the focus required to make each one look presentable, identical. Your knife moves with practiced ease, the heat from the freshly carved joint warming your hands even more. The smell of roasted meat is thick now, layered over the other kitchen odors, a rich, savory blanket that makes your stomach rumble despite the oppressive heat. The pace is relentless. Stewards are lined up, their faces serious, waiting for their trays. Lamb 2, duck 4, beef Wellington 1. The calls are sharp, urgent, and you and your colleagues respond instantly, grabbing plates, assembling components, wiping edges clean with a frantic swipe of a cloth. There's no time for small talk, barely time to think. It's all instinct, training, the muscle memory of countless hours in kitchens. The heat seems to intensify with the rising pressure, the air growing thick with steam and the aroma of cooking food. Sweat trickles down your temples, stinging your eyes, but you can't stop to wipe it away. Zooming out for a moment, the logistics of this operation are truly staggering. How did they even get this much fresh food onto a ship? Think about it, thousands of pounds of meat, tons of vegetables, crates upon crates of fruit, dairy and fish, all perishable. This voyage began only a few days ago, but the planning stretched back weeks, perhaps months. Supplies were loaded in Southampton, Cherbourg and Queenstown. They needed enormous refrigeration units deep within the belly of the ship, pioneering technology for the time. It wasn't just about stocking enough food. It was about stocking the right food, the highest quality, the freshest produce, imported delicacies. They brought 40 tons of meat, 2,500 cases of fruit, 10,000 pounds of fish. Your 250 portions of lamb are just a tiny fraction of this seagoing larder. This wasn't like provisioning a small coastal steamer. This was feeding a small, demanding city in the middle of the ocean for a week. And the variety. While the first-class menu was an elaborate, multi-course affair featuring everything from oysters and consommé to roast duck, lamb, and elaborate desserts, the meals in other classes were far simpler, though still considered good for the time. The quality and quantity decreased noticeably as you moved down the decks. Your labor in this specific galley directly contributes to the opulence of first class, a stark reminder of the class divisions literally built into the ship's structure. The same ocean carries everyone, but not everyone dines on roast lamb and consommé. Olga back in the immediate, fiery reality of the galley, there's a momentary bottleneck at the pass. A delay. A waiter is questioning a plate, pointing to a garnish that seems out of place. Your supervisor snaps a sharp word, the plate is quickly corrected, and the flow resumes. It's a tiny ripple in the storm, but it sends a jolt of adrenaline through you. Perfection is demanded, and the margin for error is thinner than a slice of carpaccio. You take a quick, shallow breath, feeling the rough linen of your apron against your skin. The main course service is in full swing now, and the heart of the ship's kitchen is beating with frantic, powerful strokes, fueled by heat, pressure, and the sheer, unending demand for food as the wave of main course orders continues to wash over you, each plate a small victory in this culinary battle. You might wonder about the people on the other side of those swinging doors. Who are they really, these passengers enjoying the fruits of your labor? The rhythm of the galley reaches a fever pitch. It's a full-blown storm of activity now, every surface covered in plates, every corner buzzing with motion. The heat is a physical weight, pressing down on you, making it hard to draw a full breath. The air is thick with the combined aromas of roasting meat, simmering sauces, and hot metal. Calls for dishes come faster, louder. Duck 3, pick up. Lamb 5, sauce béarnaise on the side. Your hands are a blur, carving, scooping, arranging. There's a kind of desperate grace to the movements, a finely tuned choreography born of endless practice. Even amidst the chaos, you might be focused now on the presentation. It's not enough that the food is cooked perfectly. It must look the part. The roasted potatoes need to be artfully arranged, the green beans neatly bundled, the mint sauce drizzled just so over the lamb. Each plate is a small canvas, a miniature work of edible art that will exist for only a few minutes before being devoured. Under the intense pressure, even these small details feel monumental. Your eyes scan the plate quickly. Does it look right? Is anything missing? A steward is waiting, hand outstretched, ready to whisk it away. The pressure is not just from the heat and the workload, but from the relentless flow of ready hands waiting to carry your work up to the silent, expectant diners. Think about the sheer volume of richness flowing out of this kitchen tonight. All those sauces, those gravies, the butter used for searing and finishing. Consider just the cream. For the consommé Olga clarification earlier, for countless sauces like the cream of barley soup, for the desserts to come. There must be hundreds, perhaps even 1,000 gallons of fresh cream and milk being used tonight alone. 1,000 gallons, that's enough to fill a small swimming pool back home. All of it destined to add richness, silkiness, and flavor to the dishes consumed by a few hundred people. It's a mind-boggling amount of dairy, a liquid river of luxury sourced from countless cows back on solid ground, transporting across the ocean to be momentarily enjoyed and then gone. The scale of it is both impressive and slightly absurd when you stop to think about it. And then, for just a split second, something cuts through the din. A subtle shift. It's not a sound, exactly, more of a feeling. The floor under your feet vibrates, but differently than the usual engine thrum. A sharper, perhaps more jarring sensation. You might exchange a quick, unspoken glance with the chef next to you, a raised eyebrow, a flicker of uncertainty in their eyes before they immediately return to their task. Was that a bump, a scrape, or just the ship settling? In the roaring symphony of the kitchen, it's a note that seems out of place, a brief, discordant beat in the ship's powerful rhythm, but there is no time to dwell. The calls for food continue, the heat is just as intense, the plates keep piling up. Whatever that was, it's drowned out by the immediate, overwhelming demands of service. You wipe your hands on your apron, grab the next cut of meat, and plunge back into the controlled chaos. The delicate dance of preparing perfection continues, absorbing all your focus, demanding all your energy. The vast scale, the fleeting moment of unease, they recede into the background, replaced by the urgent, tangible reality of the dish in front of you. The main course service is peaking, and the final courses of this elaborate meal are still waiting in the wings. What culinary challenges, or perhaps other kinds of surprises, might the rest of the night hold? The relentless pace of the main course service begins, ever so slightly, to ebb. The calls aren't quite as sharp, the flow of outgoing plates not quite the frantic river it was moments ago. A collective, almost imperceptible sigh of relief passes through the galley workers, quickly suppressed. You can feel the difference in the air, still stiflingly hot, but the quality of the heat seems to change, less the searing blast of roasting ovens, more the humid warmth of steaming pots and busy stoves winding down. Your shoulders are aching, your feet are screaming, but there's a brief, sweet moment of transition before the next wave, and that next wave is dessert. Ah, dessert. A different kind of pressure, a different set of skills required. The savory smells slowly begin to mingle with sweeter aromas, the scent of baking fruit, the rich perfume of coffee, the cold, clean smell of ice cream. The tension shifts from brute force and speed to a more delicate, precise kind of preparation. You might be involved in plating the Victoria pudding, carefully portioning the rich, fruit-laden boiled cake. Imagine its texture, dense, perhaps slightly sticky, warm from being kept ready. It needs to be plated neatly, perhaps with a touch of sauce or cream alongside. It's humble compared to some of the other dishes, but a classic comfort food, a warm hug on a plate, or perhaps you're working with the apricot's bordelau. This sounds altogether more refined, a delicate tart. You might be arranging slices of tender, possibly poached apricots onto a buttery pastry base, ensuring each piece is perfectly placed. The smell here would be sweet and faintly tangy, the slight char of the baked pastry crust mingling with the soft fruit. It requires patience, a steady hand, and then there are the Petty's mocha. The name itself is a bit of a puzzle, even now lost to time, but mocha strongly suggests coffee. Perhaps small, intensely flavored coffee cakes. You might be handling trays of these, tiny, dark little bites, arranging them just so, perhaps dusting them with powdered sugar or adding a small dollop of coffee-flavored cream. The aroma of rich coffee, perhaps roasted and brewed nearby in the galley, would be invigorating, a welcome change from the heavy scents of dinner. And then, the grand finale for many, French ice cream. Simple, yet incredibly difficult to produce on this scale, in the middle of the ocean, in 1912. Think about the process, chilling the cream and custard base, churning it until smooth and frozen. This wasn't done by hand for thousands of portions. There would have been ice cream machines, likely powered, requiring careful monitoring and precise temperature control. The cold emanating from tubs of ice cream would be a shock to your perpetually hot hands, a brief, intense relief. The scent of vanilla, or whatever flavor it might be, would be pure and sweet, a stark contrast to the savory complexity that came before. Plating it requires speed. It melts quickly in this heat, a perfect scoop or quenelle placed swiftly on the plate, maybe alongside a slice of pudding or tart. While you're focused on the tangible, immediate task of plating these desserts, it's worth remembering the effort that went into just having ice cream available. It speaks volumes about the lengths they went to for luxury. Ice itself was a precious commodity, requiring massive ice holds deep within the ship. Keeping food, let alone delicate ice cream, perfectly chilled during a transatlantic voyage before widespread electrical refrigeration was a feat of engineering and logistics. Your simple scoop of ice cream represents a complex chain of supply and technology, an invisible foundation of the luxury experience upstairs. The pace for dessert service is different, less frantic, more about assembly and presentation. It's still demanding, still hot, but there's a slight easing of the white-knuckle intensity of the main course rush. You might even allow your mind to wander for just a second, your hands moving automatically as you plate a slice of pudding. That strange little bump from earlier, was it anything, or just your imagination, tired from the heat and the long hours? The sounds of the galley are changing too, softening slightly, the metallic clamor mixed with the sweeter aromas of the final course. The end of service is in sight, a welcome thought after hours on your feet, but the night, of course, is far from over. The last trays of dessert have gone up, and a different kind of work begins. The frantic energy slowly drains away, replaced by the steady hum of cleaning and preparation. The air, still thick with the ghosts of tonight's flavors, starts to clear as windows and vents are adjusted, letting in, perhaps, a breath of slightly cooler air from other parts of the ship. The intense glare of the main lights feels less oppressive now, revealing the controlled chaos that remains: stacks of used plates waiting to be scraped, pots and pans needing scrubbing, surfaces slick with grease and spilled sauces. Your hands, which were moments ago delicately arranging apricots or swiftly scooping ice cream, now reach for scrub brushes and hot, soapy water. This is the hidden, less glamorous end of the performance. The sparkling plates, the elegant presentation, it all begins with the relentless, hot work of cooking and ends with the equally relentless, hot work of cleaning. You might be scraping remnants of rich gravies or sweet fruit sauces from countless plates, the repetitive motion surprisingly tiring after hours on your feet. The smell of detergent and hot water begins to mix with the lingering food smells, a sharp, clean contrast. There's a camaraderie in this shared labor, a quiet understanding among the crew as you work side by side, the earlier tension replaced by a shared rhythm of scrubbing and rinsing. Think about the sheer volume of what you've just been a part of. Just in that first-class dining saloon, accommodating around 500 people, and considering a voyage lasting about 7 days with 3 main meals a day. Even if not everyone dined every single meal, the number of individual meals served in that room alone over the course of the journey quickly climbs. The calculation we just considered: 10,500. That's a staggering number of plates, of courses, of individual servings, passing through the hands of the kitchen and steward staff for some of the passengers in one dining area over the planned voyage. That number multiplies when you consider the 2 other classes, the officers, the crew, the special requests, the afternoon teas, the late-night buffets. The amount of food prepared, served, and cleaned up is almost beyond comprehension. Your efforts tonight, exhausting as they are just one small part of this massive, floating logistical operation designed to cater to thousands of people's most basic, and in some cases, most extravagant, needs. While you scrub a particularly greasy pan, perhaps the sounds of the ship itself become more apparent in the lessening din of the galley. The steady thrum of the engines, the creaks and groans of the hull moving through the water. And maybe, just maybe, you notice the cold again. Not the heat of the kitchen, but the deep, profound cold that seems to radiate subtly from the ship's structure itself, a reminder of the frigid environment outside. It's a silent, constant presence, a counterpoint to the warmth and activity within upstairs. The passengers are likely enjoying coffee, perhaps retiring to the smoking room or the drawing room, completely detached from the scene unfolding down here. Their experience of the Titanic is one of effortless luxury, of desires met before they are even fully formed. Your experience is one of heat, labor, and the satisfying, if exhausting, rhythm of physical work. The miles the ship covers are just numbers on a chart to them. To you, they represent the duration of this intense effort, the time you are away from shore, working in this floating world of extremes. The cleaning continues, the sounds of scraping and splashing filling the space. The galley is slowly returning to order, preparing itself for the next assault of hunger that will come with breakfast. The immediate pressure is off, allowing for a moment of physical recovery even as the work continues. The ship rushes on through the dark, its massive engines pushing it ever eastward, carrying its contrasting worlds of leisure and labor through the cold, indifferent night. The rhythm of cleaning continues, but it's different now. Less urgent, more methodical. The worst of the grease and grime has been dealt with, and now it's about putting everything back in order, preparing for the next service. The air is clearing, the sharp scent of cleanser dominating over the ghosts of dinner. Your hands, still stinging slightly from the hot water and rough brushes, move automatically, stacking plates, wiping down counters, ensuring everything is in its place. The exhaustion is a dull ache now, a constant companion, but the end of the shift is in sight, a welcome beacon in the long night. Think about the sheer scale of the provisions needed to keep this floating city fed. We've seen the amount of cream used just for one night's dining, but expand that thought. The tons of meat, the mountains of potatoes and vegetables, the countless loaves of bread, the gallons of milk. All of it had to be sourced, transporting, and stored before the ship even left Southampton. Consider the potatoes alone. Historical records suggest something like 40 tons of potatoes were loaded onto the Titanic. 40 tons. That's enough to make mashed potatoes for a small army, or perhaps enough chips to stretch from here to, well, a very long way indeed. It's a simply mind-boggling quantity of just one vegetable, a testament to the scale of consumption happening on this ship. Your peeling, chopping, and roasting earlier were part of processing just a tiny fraction of that vast potato mountain. While you work, the sounds around you are those of winding down. The heavy machinery is still, the ovens cooling, the only significant noise the distant thrum of the engines and the nearby clatter of the scullery. In this relative quiet, your thoughts might drift. Home seems incredibly far away now, a distant memory of solid ground, familiar streets, and predictable rhythms. The sea is a strange place, full of its own unsettling mysteries. There are stories you hear among the crew tales of ghost ships, of strange lights seen on the water, of the eerie silence that can fall over the ocean before a storm. You don't necessarily believe them, not really, but working out here, suspended between the surface and the crushing depths, it's easy to understand where such stories come from. The strange little jolt from earlier might come back to mind. It felt solid, not just the ship pitching or rolling, moory like a scrape, or a grind, you shake your head, probably just the ship settling. It's a massive structure, it makes noises. There's no point worrying about every little bump in the night. The officers on the bridge know what they're doing. They've crossed the Atlantic countless times. They wouldn't be pushing ahead at full speed through known ice areas if there were any real danger. Would they? The thought is fleeting, quickly pushed aside by the immediate, tangible reality of the task at hand. The last few pots need scrubbing, the floor needs a final mop. The heat is still present, a constant reminder of the galley's core function, but it's less intense now. A weary satisfaction begins to settle in the satisfaction of a long, hard job nearing completion. The world upstairs, with its music, its laughter, its elaborate courses now digested, feels incredibly distant. Your world is this metal box, this hot, demanding space that has consumed your night. And soon, blessedly soon, it will be time for a few hours of rest before the demands of breakfast begin. The ship continues its swift, silent passage through the dark water, carrying its sleeping passengers and its weary crew. The deep, profound cold of the ocean outside is still there, a silent, invisible presence just beyond the steel hull. It's a cold that doesn't intrude into the warmth of the galley, not yet, but it's a constant, chilling reminder of the environment you are moving through. And as you finish cleaning, the sounds of the ship moving through the water seem just a little bit sharper tonight, a subtle shift in the deep, underlying hum. The last of the cleaning is done. The galley, though still warm, feels quieter, calmer. The relentless, demanding energy of service has completely dissipated, replaced by the low murmur of a few remaining crew members finishing their tasks and the distant, steady thrum of the engines. You lean against a clean counter, feeling the coolness of the metal through your weary clothes. The air smells mostly of soap and hot water now, a clean, almost sterile scent after the rich tapestry of aromas from hours ago. Your hands, raw and aching, are finally still. You grab a tin mug and pour yourself a cup of tea from a thermos, strong, sweet, the kind that puts a little bit of warmth back into your core. As you cradle the hot mug, your thoughts inevitably drift back to the sea outside. Out there, in the dark, silent world, there's a different kind of reality. It's a world that sailors respect, a world governed by forces far older and more powerful than any ship. And the sea tonight feels particularly vast, particularly indifferent. The superstitions you've heard whispered among the crew come to mind. Little things mostly. Don't whistle below deck, it calls the wind, stirs up trouble. Never set sail on a Friday, it's just asking for bad luck. Seeing certain birds can be an omen, good or bad. They're old beliefs, many of them, passed down through generations of sailors who spent their lives at the mercy of the waves and the weather. You might not put much stock in them yourself, not entirely, but after spending enough time out here, away from the predictable rhythms of land, you start to understand the impulse behind them. Trying to find patterns, trying to appease the unpredictable. When your life depends on the whim of the elements, a little bit of ritual can feel like a lifeline. There's a saying, too, about a red sky in the morning being a sailor's warning. Tonight, though, the sky is just an inky blackness, starless and deep, but the air feels sharp, too sharp perhaps, and that cold, that pervasive cold that seems to radiate from the very structure of the ship tonight. It's a cold that feels ancient, primal, like the breath of something immense and uncaring, and then the jolt comes back to you, not just the memory of it, but a feeling that settles uneasily in your gut. It wasn't just the ship moving. It felt like contact, a glancing blow perhaps, a shudder that ran deeper than the usual pitching and rolling. You try to dismiss it again. The officers are on the bridge. They have lookouts. If there were ice, they would know. They would slow down. They wouldn't be steaming ahead at 22 knots through the North Atlantic at night if there was any real danger of hitting something. It's unthinkable, but the thought, once it's there, is hard to shake. The sheer speed of the ship feels different now, less exhilarating, more precarious, like rushing headlong through the dark. And the sea outside, that vast, cold expanse, suddenly feels less like a pathway and more like an obstacle course. It's a strange feeling, unsettling the tired calm that had begun to settle over you upstairs. The passengers are likely asleep now, dreaming their detached, comfortable dreams, oblivious to the subtle shifts in the ship's rhythm, the quiet anxieties stirring in the lower decks, or the deep, biting cold that surrounds them. Their journey is one of leisure and luxury. Yours is one of labor and a grudging respect for the unpredictable power of the sea. And as you drain the last of your tea, a new sound seems to join the constant thrum of the engines, a subtle, almost imperceptible vibration, a low-frequency hum that feels different. Your shift is almost over, but the night, you sense with a growing unease, is far from finished with you. Something about the silence outside, combined with that lingering feeling of a jolt and the unsettling hum, makes the back of your neck prickle. Something is happening out there, in the dark and the cold, and you, tucked away in the warm belly of this massive ship, are about to be part of it. The tea is finished, the last counter wiped down, the last pan stacked. The galley is as clean as it's going to get until the morning rush begins. A quiet settles over the space, a deep, tired silence broken only by the distant rhythm of the engines, that insistent, driving pulse that has been the soundtrack to your night. Your feet ache, your hands are raw, but there's a weary satisfaction in the completion of the task. The heat is still present, a lingering warmth against your skin, a stark contrast to the cold that you can feel now, subtly, through the floor plates, through the metal structure of the ship itself, that cold. It feels different now, not just the expected chill of the North Atlantic, but something deeper, more intense. And that subtle vibration you felt earlier, that low hum beneath the engine noise, seems to have intensified just slightly. It's a sound that doesn't feel right, a grating frequency that vibrates not just in your ears, but in your bones. In these final moments of your shift, Standing in the quiet galley, the world outside feels closer than it has all night. The vast, dark expanse of the ocean, previously a distant concept, feels suddenly immediate, pressing in on the ship's hull. And the jolt from earlier, the scrape or shudder you felt, no longer feels like something to be easily dismissed. It feels significant. A warning ignored upstairs, the ship is a world of slumber. Passengers are dreaming, staff are resting in their bunks. The noise and energy of the evening's revelry and work have faded into the quiet hours of the night. All those lives, all those stories, all those hopes and dreams are contained within this massive, rushing vessel. And down here, in the belly of the beast, the subtle signs of something amiss are becoming harder to ignore. The driving speed feels reckless now. The confidence that seemed so solid earlier feels like a fragile illusion against the vast, indifferent power of the sea and the ice that floats within it. Think of the transition. One moment the mundane reality of scrubbing pans, the comforting ache of physical labor, the anticipation of a brief rest. The next is a history that has resonated for over 100 years. A transition from routine to catastrophe, from the height of human ingenuity and ambition to a stark, chilling confrontation with the raw power of nature. Your world of heat and steam and aching hands, and the world upstairs of silk and champagne and dreams of America, are about to converge in a terrifying, unavoidable moment. All that luxury, all that planning, all that human effort contained within this magnificent ship. Ultimately, it came down to a few crucial decisions in the dark and the unforgiving reality of ice and cold water. The Titanic wasn't just a ship, it was a snapshot of a moment in time, carrying with it the confidence, the class divides, and the technological hubris of an era. And in a few moments, that snapshot is about to be shattered, its pieces scattered across the ocean floor, a cold, silent testament to a journey that ended far too soon. As the ship rushes onward into the dark, carrying you and thousands of others towards an unknowable future, take a moment to appreciate the quiet that has fallen over the galley. The work is done, the night is drawing to a close, but the story of this night and this ship is only just beginning its most famous and most tragic chapter. Thank you for joining me on this journey back in time, into the heat and the labor and the quiet anxieties of the Titanic's galley. If you found yourself transporting, even just for a moment, into this forgotten corner of history, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It helps me keep telling these hidden stories. For now, the ship rushes on, the air is cold, the night is deep, and the future waits just beyond the horizon. Dim the lights, turn off your screen, and ease gently into sleep. Good night.